Hi guys, my name is Sean. I'm a houseplant enthusiast from Jakarta, Indonesia. In today's video, we're going to be rescuing this peace lily variegated, or Spathiphyllum. And this plant has actually seen much better days. First of all, it got chewed up by caterpillars, and then I was unpotting this earlier and I saw that it's actually very root bound, and there's actually quite a lot of plant material here. We're going with extreme propagation today, so we're going to be trying to get as many baby plants out of this as possible because it's really banged up. And another problem with this plant, which we'll also cover in the care section, is that it's reverting. So with all variegated plants, well, not all, but most variegated plants, they do revert to green when you put them in low light, and they will give you more variegation when you get them in highlight. I'm going to insert some pictures on the screen of what this plant looked like just a few months ago when it got much better light and better care. So it's been a bit neglected since my move. It's living under many bigger plants. It's not getting, optimal sunlight, and again, it's just been chewed up by snails and caterpillars and things that are outside. Apologize for the renovation. Also, somebody's day karaokeing somewhere out there. So if you hear that, I apologize. But really quickly about the care, again, these guys like to be in bright indirect light with a little bit of direct sunlight, although too much of direct sunlight will turn the leaves a little bit light green or even a little bit of a yellow color, and that's when you know that you're giving it too much light, and in fact you may even burn the leaves at some point. Again, if you want a low light Spathiphyllum, I highly recommend the all green form, and there are many varieties of them. I don't really know all the species, but then those can take low light and they will even flower for you in low light. But in this guy's case, this is actually flowering right now. But yeah, in this guy's case, it is reverting, and the peace lily is actually super easy to care for in my climate at least. Don't overwater it, and just don't let it droop for too long, because if you let it get too thirsty, the leaves will actually droop down. It'll tell you to water it, but that's actually when it's a little bit too far gone, so you don't want to wait until that stage to water it. But when you do water it, they do perk back up, just so you know, as long as you don't leave it out for 2 weeks. But this is a very forgiving plant, very good beginner plants, because they can take a wide variety of watering. But again, no overwatering. It doesn't want to sit in water. It doesn't want to be, treated like a cactus. It doesn't want to be forgotten either. Fertilize is the same with my other houseplants, lightly and regularly. Chemical, natural fertilizers. And these guys are very, I don't want to say pest free, because again, they are very prone to caterpillars and all that, but every plant that I know can be, affected by those. But I'm talking about the regular mealybugs and your, spider mites and all that. They don't really affect peace lilies that much. So this, I would say, is a relatively pest-free plant. All right, so let's have a look at this guy. I give this guy general purpose potting mix with terracotta pots. So I do water them every day actually, because it's so fast draining, the potting mix and also the pot. But if I have it indoors in a plastic pot in a slow draining potting mix, I would never water it so much, just so you know. This is a good plant. It's not expensive, and you get to learn a lot about plant care, about how to let your plants kind of dry out in between, how to move your plants around for variegation. So this is a very good light meter, I would say. If you're not familiar with your space, you're not sure if your plant is getting good light, if it's getting direct sunlight or whatever, just put a variegated peace lily there. If it's low light, it will slowly revert over time for you. Alright, so I tried for the last 10 minutes to tease the roots out, but then everything's super tangled up in there. I'm gonna do something drastic, and it's gonna set the plant back quite a lot. If you have the time in the world and you want to spend an hour to unroot this, go for it. But I'm gonna just cut it free. So not recommending this, but I have over 2,000 plants by now, and I've got things to do. So yeah, I'm just gonna cut it free. This is one of the cuttings, and the anatomy is this: they would grow from a simple single main stem. Of course, they would put out pups from the side. This is actually one of the pups from the main stem here, so you can see there. It's put out this pup right here. So this can grow bigger and it can put out its own pup. And here, let me show you. Yeah, I think this is it. This is actually a growing eye, where the tip of my hand is, my finger. That's a growing eye, and that has the potential to put out a new plant. And each of these lines here is actually a node. So when a leaf falls off, I'm gonna just take one leaf off right now. There's gonna be a line here, and there's going to be a node. Every node has at least one aerial root, or in this case real roots. It's got one leaf that we just plucked off, and it's also got one growing eye. So we can turn this into many plants, technically speaking. So what I'm gonna do here is, I can actually cut this into 2 plants or more, but I'm only gonna do 2 because it's such a small cutting. So I'm gonna cut it like that. So this is the top cutting. It's got some leaves which are badly chewed up, by the way, and it's got some roots here, and it's got some growing eyes. So this will actually push out growth from here because this is where the apical dominance is. Unless the top is compromised, then the plant will decide to put something to grow something else from below. So it's got a few chances. And for the bottom here, I'm just gonna plant it as it is. And there should be more than 1 node here, and it should activate. It should give me some baby peace lilies out of there. I see one growing eye here. Do you see that? A little point here, that's one growing eye. There should be like at least 3 of them here. I broke off another one, and I think this is very similar to that one. So as you can see, if you want a bushy peace lily, you can't rely on just one clump. This is one clump in my right hand here. You can't just rely on it. You're going to have a lot of pups on the base. You can have multiple plants. They're connected sometimes, or they can be completely severed. But you need this to create a full basket plant, full basket of peace lily, which is actually a beautiful look. They look really nice in a pot with just a full foliage, or in landscaping too. But in today's video, we're not going to achieve that, of course, but we're going to turn this into many baby plants. I'm going to be selling these, although, as I mentioned earlier, this plant is actually not worth a lot. It's a very, very, very common plant. I think a plant like this, maybe definitely more established than this, but cutting with maybe just some beautiful leaves, some beautiful variegation would cost about $1.50 US. So yeah, I peeled that off, and that's one growing eye here. But yeah, this plant will continue with this apical dominance first. So yeah, and that's our little cutting here that we can turn. I could, technically speaking, cut this into 2, but we're not going to do that today. But I'm going to plant this facing up. Mind you don't want to plant this in the wrong side. So I'm going to finish with the rest. It's just going to be the same method, and I'm going to pot them up. Now here's the main trunk here, and as you can see, there's actually a very long main stem here where a lot of leaves used to sprout and they died off. And I can't really see it that well because there's so many aerial roots in the way. Here's I don't know if you can see it that well. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to blindly cut this. Because again, this exercise is to show you how we can get as many plants as possible. I'm going to cut this off. This is going to be pretty satisfying to watch. So yeah, I want to try to get as many roots as I can. Da, 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 da. Look at that, wow, that was so satisfying to do. Yay. Yeah, there are a few nodes in here actually. If I was greedy, I can even chop this up further, but I'm not going to do that because there's so many leaves here. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm probably even going to take a few leaves off because there's not enough root system here to support that many leaves. So I can take a few leaves off, especially the old and yellowing one like this. That's a bit busted, and just go ahead and take it off. Usually the lower leaves actually, that's what you want to take off. Alright, so this is going to be our parent plant. I'm going to pot this right back into its original pot. And now the bottom here, this is so heavy. I need to try to entangle this as much as possible and take off some of these roots, because if not, the roots are just going to rot, obviously, because it's not attached to the plant anymore. And when you have rot, you are inviting fungus and bacteria. So as best as I can, I want to take this off. Some people do hydrogen peroxide and all that. I don't do it. So in nature, they just kind of fend for themselves anyways. So yeah, I have a feeling that this clump here, this is going to sprout many, many nodes. That's my bet. So let's see in a few months if I'm right or wrong. Place your bets too, by the way. Let me know if you'll see multiple babies sprout from this or not. Alright, so I do want to show you an example of how I plant this one cutting here, because it may not be so obvious how to do it for some of you. I'm just going to put it in the pot. Sometimes I try to swirl it a little bit because the roots will find its way better as I'm putting in it. Just kind of twist it a bit, and then yeah, just add potting mix. It's actually a good idea not to add only a little bit. You don't have to add to the full pot, just kind of cover it a little bit, but you can have the top peeking out a little bit. That's fine. You don't. The reason why you don't want so many potting mixes is that you don't want to overwater it. The less potting mix you have, the less likely you are to overwater it. Alright, so here's a family portrait of everyone. This is the top cutting, and then actually I did decide. Welcome to a 3 weeks update. This one is the parent plant, or the top cutting rather. It's put out a beautiful new leaf, but I think this place may be a little bit too shaded for it, but I'm gonna leave it here for a while because it needs to recover a little bit more. But yes, you can see the variegation is not as spectacular. Again, these guys do respond very well to light. The more light you give it, the more variegation it's gonna get. And here are the other cuttings. I'm very excited to show you this. This one is doing okay. It's still rooting away, but the cutting is still alive. But this is what I'm excited about. Look at this little thing. Look at that. Hello. And then this one is actually doing really well. Look at that. This is the one where we cut in the midsection. It's giving me 3 vines, and they're variegated. You can see here. So beautiful. This one actually needs to be watered. You can tell from the potting mix. So this is how I water them. This is well watered. I don't need to water this, but this I need to water it today. This is still doing okay. As you can see, the leaves are fine. And this one, look at that. This stump here. This is going to get so bushy. I already see 4 vines here. And then this one is doing really well. It's putting out a new shoot. It's gonna take a while to recover to its former glory, don't get me wrong. But yeah, just give them time. We'll end up with so many plants. This is easy plant to propagate. So I'm gonna wait for a little bit longer. I'm gonna show you what they look like in their better days. So give me a few more weeks or months. It's been 2 months since our last update, and look at all these babies. How nice. The one that was grown in further, because there's actually a shelf here, it's reverted to green, maybe because it's not getting enough light, or maybe it's just because the part of the stem that we propagated is mostly green, but this one's also reverting quite a bit. As you can see, the new leaf is coming and it's gonna be pretty much green. So I do need to give this more light. The reason why I haven't moved this is because I'm afraid of losing them. I want them to be together while I'm filming it. This is the parent plant. It's branched out quite a bit. This is quite a robust grower. I guess this is why they are inexpensive here. But yeah, after this update, I'm going to move them into respective locations where they can get big and they can get better light and more variegation, resulting from more light. Thank you so much for watching. I'm at Botanis on Instagram. If you want to DM me on any questions regarding plant care and propagations, I'll try my best to get back to you. Meanwhile, do take care and stay safe. I will see you in the next video. Bye!